Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Ghost Biker Garage. It's Thursday night, and we're live with another great guest. It's also a very stormy night here in the South, and so I hope any of you folks that are in the Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee area, I hope you guys are staying safe. I know we've got some thunder rumbling outside of here and got some potential tornadoes expected for later tonight, but we're crossing our fingers and hoping that all of this holds off so that we can get our live stream in and won't have any interruptions. So, like I said, I heard it thundering just a few minutes ago. So we're gonna hope that we don't have any connectivity issues. So if you all just want to come on in and any questions or anything, comments that you have, put it into the chat and we'll pull those up on the screen and we'll give those to our guest. I'm not going to waste any time getting started because, like I said, I don't want to lose any connectivity, but we've got a great guest tonight. You guys probably saw my post about this. I've got Dan Norvell from the Ghosthunter Dan Norvell Project, and he's been involved in the paranormal since '96, and he's an author. He's been on a lot of podcast, radio shows talking about some of the experiences and such that he's had, and he's known by his closest friends as a spiritual warrior. So we're going to get him on and get him to talk about that. And just want to say hi to Janet, DC, Matt Bird, Peppy Purple Eyes. Thank you guys for tuning in. And like I said, if you will just put any questions in the comment section there, we'll get them pulled up. So if you will help me welcome my friend, Ghosthunter Dan. Hey, Dan, how are you?
Hey, guys. Hi, Miranda.
Hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you're doing okay.
Oh, you are welcome.
So let's go ahead and get started. And why don't you kind of tell us about yourself? Because you've been investigating for quite some time now. So kind of going to ask the general typical question that most people want to know, how you got started and how the Ghosthunter Dan Norvell Project got going.
Okay. Well, back in '96, my younger brother and I, we just like to hang out in cemeteries. I know that was weird back then and now not so weird. And we would shoot video and stuff. And we'd travel a lot of our local cemeteries, probably within a 30-mile radius, and shoot video, shoot pictures, whatever. And lo and behold, one time we shot a video probably about 8 miles to the west of our town in this little country cemetery out in the middle of nowhere. And we caught a shadow figure. And wow. From that day forward, I was pretty much hooked. Got married, had a couple kids, slowed down for a little while. And then, I would do it intermittently. I would be here and there. And then about 2008, 2009, the bug bit me really hard. I invested money in equipment, started a team called Small Town Paranormal with my partner, Rob. And we hit it full bore. And it was absolutely awesome. We got to go to some really cool places, got to do some really cool stuff. And then once again, life happens. I kind of had to shy away, and I decided, okay, well, since I don't want to keep doing the team thing, I'm going to start the Ghosthunter Dan Norvell Project, and I'm going to do it just Dan. Hey, Jill. And I did that, and I was doing that for a while. Well, more people were starting to follow me than Small Town Paranormal. And I would be very candid about my stuff. I would put up everything raw only because I didn't want anybody to say, hey, you edited this in there, that in there. Mm-hmm. If I experienced it, you're going to see it the exact way I experienced it. And people seem to like that. Started the YouTube channel. I think the YouTube channel's been up for like 8 years. I don't know. I see Sandy in chat. She'd probably have a better guess at that than I would. And, fast forward, my partner Larry and Tessa, Andrew, Steve came along. We made the Ghosthunter Dan Project into a team. We started shooting a show called Expedition Entity. We did have that get onto Paranormal Warehouse. You know, the downside is it just seemed like we never had time to do anything else but
Yeah.
shoot the show all the time, every free weekend, every free moment, and it started to become very taxing once again. And you know, I don't know about any of you guys out there, but I started to do this for kind of a release to have fun. And when it becomes a second job, it's no longer fun.
Yes.
So when it quit being fun is when, and other things happened in my life that I just had to pull away.
Mm.
Like I was telling you off the air, we had to dissolve the team last year, not because of anything anybody did. I love each and every one of them. They're still part of the Ghosthunter Dan family. They may or may not live stream on the Facebook channel from here time to time.
Mm-hmm.
But basically now it's just Larry and I. We are starting a new endeavor called Haunted Heartland, and we're going to continue to go to, you know, some of the less well-known places and see if they are or not haunted.
I love that.
So
I love that because
that's where we're at right now.
That's great because, you know, it seems like that there does sort of start to be a trend more toward that because, you know, there's so many commercial locations out there. And I think that the small town, lesser known local legends and such are just, you know, they've got a big story to be told, you know, and I think that that's great that you're doing that. And I've also got to say, I think that's great. I love how you put your videos out in the raw like that, because it does add that sense of transparency, and it's just real. It's just as it is as you're there. So that's what I've always liked about the videos that you put out, Dan.
Yeah, and I mean, we do edited stuff now, and Haunted
Mm-hmm.
Heartland will be edited.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we do put out like highlight videos of what we're
Sure.
doing. But I just traveled down to Oregon, Illinois, to the where they had executed the Driscoll boys down in Oregon, and I put that video up raw. And you know, back in 1841, 111 townspeople took aim and executed these guys, and
Wow.
out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, this is out in the prairie,
That's the one with
and
the rock, right? That you were showing the rock showing where?
yes,
Yeah.
and you know, we didn't get a lot of activity there, and it was so windy out. You know, we could hardly hear each other talk, let alone. I'm surprised the video came out as clear as it really did.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the kind of places nobody knows about. Those are the
That's
kind of
right.
places that I want to talk about and bring to you guys. I've said this a million times, and I know Sandy can vouch for me. I don't. What I do, I want to go to Waverly Hills? Absolutely. Who doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to go there because it's haunted, because I have lots of friends who've been there that have told me it is, and I trust them. No doubt in my mind it's haunted.
Yes.
So it's kind of one of those things that would be a bucket list thing for me rather than, okay, now Dan has to go and have a crack at it. I know there's ghosts there. I don't have to prove that. I want to go to the places that nobody's heard about and show you the ghosts there. Like one of your
Yeah.
episodes, the Bleeding Mausoleum, I had never heard about that. And
Yeah.
that is still one of my favorite episodes of Ghost Biker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's one of mine too because, you know, the fact that there's such a unique story to it, and a lot of the folks in this area didn't even know the whole story. And so that's what's cool
Yeah.
about these small places. I mean, because you think when you're talking about a local area that people will know, you know, where you're talking about, but you can talk to a lot of locals in some of these places and they don't know the whole story. And so, you know, that's what I can really appreciate. I saw your video on that, and I had no idea about that story, but
Yeah.
very interesting, you know. So, so I'm looking forward to seeing your new series.
Yeah, and the thing is we're not going to promise a number of episodes per year.
Sure.
We're just going to shoot them as we can shoot them, and if it doesn't look right for us, then we're going to scratch it and start again.
Yeah. Keep it low
So,
stress. Yeah.
yeah. But and that mindset, Miranda, is what brought us to the Blackhawk War, and Larry and I to write the Ghost of the Blackhawk War, because the Blackhawk War of 1832 really was the forgotten war. And when I was a kid, because I grew up around here, and everybody, when I got into the ghost hunting, everybody was like, well, all the battlegrounds are down south. There's really nothing here. There's nothing exciting about Illinois.
Not
the
true.
Battleground Cemetery is literally 13 miles from my house. And that was the first skirmish of the Blackhawk War. And what people don't realize is the Blackhawk War of 1832 is what kicked off the Trail of Tears later in 1833, because President Jackson said, after what we just dealt with Blackhawk, enough's enough. Get them all out of here. And basically made those people move everything on the Trail of Tears, get out over the Mississippi. You can have that, but this is ours. And which was horrible. But people don't realize what a significance the Blackhawk War had. And we just kind of brought that back up to the, to the mainstream. And lo and behold, there's ghosts there. And some of those ghosts are really willing to talk, because nobody's paid any attention to those lost souls for 185 years.
Exactly. Because we've got down here Fort Cass and also Red Clay, where the Cherokee Council was located with the Trail of Tears. And people just don't talk about it a whole lot, and let alone investigate it. And so it's giving that voice to these spirits that have been forgotten or not been given the platform or the story. Because I agree with you. I mean, Waverly Hills and Lizzie Borden, all these places are great. They've got a reputation and everything, but to go and spend time at some of these other places, some of them, I mean, they're just a lot more activity.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of always been my philosophy is I can look through episodes of Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventure, and find plenty of times that they've all went to Waverly Hills and places like that. But how often have they went to a Blackhawk War site, or how often have they went to, where the Driscoll boys were executed? All places that have a humongous emotional imprint left everywhere. And nobody's looking except for, these two guys who are, the Ghosthunter Dan Project. And hey, let's look there because no one else has.
That's right. I mean, I'm always telling people, because people will come to you and say, well, what can you tell new ghost hunters and that sort of thing. And a lot of people are also intimidated sometimes because of the cost of some of these commercial locations. And I'm always telling people, you can't take a map, lay it down and close your eyes and touch anywhere on that map that doesn't have a haunted story or some type of historical location that has a great story. It may just be known to that area, but it may also be a regionally known event like the Blackhawk War. So I'm always telling people, just look deeper, look at those maps and look in those small towns, because I guarantee you there's always going to be some kind of story.
Yeah. Yeah. And, years ago, people would talk about hauntings and everybody would be like, oh, there's the town weirdo again. And now, you start talking ghosts and everybody pops up and, well, my grandma's house was haunted, or my mom and dad's house was haunted, or my sister just moved into this place that's really haunted. And just like you said, you can throw a map down and just close your eyes and point your finger, and you probably most likely find a haunting associated with pretty much anywhere your finger lands.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be some big known location. I mean, those are great, and I often look at those as sort of experimental type places,
Hmm.
because the hauntings are very well known. And if you want to talk to teams, I mean, they're willing to share their hot spots and stuff like that. But
Right.
it's really fun to go to those places that aren't very well known, because you can really have the opportunity to be creative as well,
Hmm.
and do different experiments and such to see what you can pull out. And then it's just awesome whenever it validates that history that you've been studying about.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, we have a cemetery not far from us, and it's pretty much all the graves are gone. There's a couple of bases left and a couple broken stones that they've leaned against trees.
Hmm.
And I caught a picture there, a UV picture, probably about 5 years ago, and it looks like two little kids, and it looks like a little boy, and you can even kind of see the collar. It looks like he's wearing some sort of a sailor suit,
Oh, wow. Okay.
kind of holding his little sister's hand and walking her through the cemetery. And I always thought that was, a real cool picture, but sad at the same time. And my good friend Sarah, she has a cadaver dog,
Hmm.
and cadaver dogs can find, people that have been laying there for well over 1,200 years. It's amazing. And so we took Rika out there, and she was sniffing around in the cemetery, and guess what spot she hit on? Right
Really?
where I those those two little kids are standing in that picture, and she's cueing on that. This cemetery is so old and everything's so gone. You'll never be able to know where they all are, but it does lend credence to the picture that I caught there.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
and
So,
it's actually tangible credence. The dog says somebody's there. Now we don't know
yeah,
who it is, but somebody's there.
that's true. Is that the first time that you've used one of the cadaver dog or any type of animal on one of your investigations?
Yeah, yeah, it was really cool. And Sarah, that's what she does in her off time. She works with part of a like a rescue unit for recoveries when they can't find people. And
Oh,
she's also a ghost hunter, and her and I were talking one night, and I said, hey, why don't we do these two things together and see what it yields us? And that's, you think outside of the box, and
yes,
the box becomes a little bigger then. So hopefully
absolutely.
other people see that and say, hey, that's a pretty good idea, and
Hmm.
other people will be willing to be involved with something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and also it really actually kind of brings the subculture of paranormal investigating and ghost hunting into a more mainstream aspect with that, because people can identify with the police dogs and the police
Right.
officers. When paramedics, when you find out that people who have those types of jobs, it really does sort of bring more credibility to the
Right.
paranormal field when you do that. So that's a very cool thing, experiment to try. As far as you'd mentioned your shadow figure that you captured the first time,
Hmm.
any idea or theory on who that was, or was that just kind of a random thing in the cemetery?
I think it was a random thing. We were at the right place at the right time and just happened to catch it. Uh, what's really funny is we caught it on one of those big old VHS recorders that you actually put the VHS tape into, and we did transfer that to a DVD. But if you tried to even play it on Facebook, it's going to look horrible. You almost have to play it on a VHS player, like any of us have those anymore. So,
Do you believe that, I was actually talking to someone not too long ago about he records his stuff on the little audio cassettes when he
mhm.
goes. Um and sometimes you'll get the different, because digital, and it's the same way with cameras, the technology has changed so much. Do you believe that that old school, the cassettes, the VHS, like that, do you think that they're more susceptible to catching some, I guess maybe having less anomalies that could create false positives using those type of tools?
I've seen some really compelling stuff get caught on the old school stuff. And the only reason, that I've changed with the times is because it's easier to be had. It's really hard to download that old school stuff and share it anywhere.
Yeah.
I have tons and tons of footage on an old mini DV that we shot at Manteno State Hospital, and as a matter of fact, Sandy and Russ were there with me when I shot it. And I can't even download that and get it to a spot to where I can even share it with you guys on YouTube because it looks horrible.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was great. And I know there's people out there that can figure out how to do it. And Larry and I can figure out to do it if we want to spend the money to do it. But I'd rather spend the money on the newer stuff that I can pull the card out and download and we're done.
Yeah, and you can take, like with pictures and stuff, I mean, you can take 1,000 pictures on some of these SD cards rather than, just maybe, 24 pictures on a, just a regular
20
camera.
rolls of film to Walgreens and a couple other places now are the only places that do it.
Yeah, yeah. So. Well, we have, let's see, a question here from Sandy. She said to ask you about the video you captured in Maple Cemetery.
Oh, I'm thinking she's probably talking about the thermal video.
Okay.
Yeah, we were. It was Larry and Tessa and I, and it was. God, I think it's been 2 years now. We were at Maple Cemetery, which is literally like 4 blocks from my house. Probably one of the most haunted cemeteries around, believe it or not. And we were messing around. We have a Seek thermal, and we were messing around that night doing different stuff. We got a couple new things. We got a new S box and a couple other things, and we were trying them out. And we were getting ready to pack up for the night. And Tessa, who was our team sensitive, she says, Dan, we really, really need to just stay for another half hour and let's just keep hitting it and see what happens. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So we had a little discussion, and I told Larry, I said, well, I'm going to pull out the thermal and, just for snickers and giggles, let's see what we can catch. And we did catch an anomaly moving through the trees of the cemetery. And, Mike and Braggs from Paranormal Warehouse, they got it onto their show, real or fake. They looked it over. Those guys they're pretty sharp. They looked it over. Larry and I and Tessa went back and actually did our homework and tried to shoot that video again, frame by frame, with the thermal and the camera that we had that night. Nice. To re-show and retrace the steps, and more so to show that when I'm walking where whatever this anomaly was walking, I'm dark because I'm 96 degrees. Whatever this was that we caught, this white mass was 62 degrees. And when Mike and Braggs actually talked to us about it, I told Mike, I said, the only thing that I know that might have a body temperature that low would be a reptile. I said, but I don't know of any Ninja Turtles running around here. So, and of course, people said, well, you could have done this to fake it, or you could have done that to fake it. Well, yeah, I could have done a lot of things to try to fake it, but I'm not that smart to try to fake something, because number one, I don't have the time to sit and try to figure that out. And number two, if you destroy your integrity in this field, you're done.
Yeah.
So, you're always going to have believers. You're always going to have naysayers. And I've kind of adopted the practice of, if you're going to naysay, what are you even bothering us for? Just move along. So I'm
Exactly.
not going to
And
argue with anybody.
no, and what people don't realize is the fact that, I mean, you can tell a fake because it
Right.
takes a good faker to create something that,
Yes.
and I don't even know what would go into it, to some of this stuff to make it to fake it to look
Oh
like,
yeah.
you know.
Miranda, I had one guy said, "Well, you could have filled those balloons with liquid nitrogen and blah blah blah." And I said, "Well, number one, I said I'm not a chemist, but what I know of liquid nitrogen would have those balloons would have frozen and so how am I going to get them to float across this?" I had some wild ideas thrown at us, trust me. I mean, but I still couldn't. I said, "Hey, if you guys can reproduce it and fake it, I'll take you up there and let you have it."
So what's some of your favorite places to investigate?
Probably my single favorite spot is the battleground because I do have a really good rapport with the spirits that are there.
Mhm.
Um, my daughter, who does have abilities, probably not as good as Sandy, but she does have abilities nonetheless. We were able to get Captain Adams to cross, and
Oh, wow.
he was the captain that historically, and at the time he was looked at as the same bravery as Custer, because he knew that Blackhawk's forces were coming, and him and 8 other men stood their ground at certain death, so that the rest of those men could get away, you know, 30 miles away and be safe.
Wow.
So it was really a good feeling to be able to get him to not have to stay there anymore, and you could actually tell that things were much different right after he left.
Wow. So
So
was it
that, oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, the type of activity that you were getting there, was it um, kind of I mean, was it historically, um, I mean, was it a historical type activity, or was it sort of a darker, more oppressed type activity that you were getting
It was
there?
more of a historical, I would say. What was so funny is that when we were doing the research for the Blackhawk War book, and I had been to the battleground several times, either by myself. I mean, Miranda, there's times I'll just pack up the car 11:30 at night and boom, I'm going over to Stillman Valley by myself just to hang out there.
Hmm.
And I won't run anything. I'll just sit there. I won't say anything. I won't do anything. I may run a voice recorder here and there.
Hmm.
Uh, but I've had people, because the battleground's in a park,
Okay.
and a lot of people will walk through the park, when they're out on their nightly walks or whatever, and we'll come up and go, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" "Oh, we're ghost hunting." "Oh, really? Well, I live right over there, and my house is haunted as heck." And that whole spot, I mean, that was a battlefield. It was a battleground, and it doesn't surprise me that their houses are haunted.
Right.
But as far as I've never felt anything really oppressed. That I mean, Sandy's gonna kill me, but I am empathic to an extent, I guess. I don't think I'm as in tune to things as Sandy thinks I am, but uh, I've never felt anything bad there. I've never felt
Yeah.
like I've had to get the heck out. Um, I do think that we all have that ingrained in us. It's that fight or flight thing, that if you think
Hmm.
something's wrong or something's bad, you don't have to
Hmm.
be empathic to know that you need to pack your stuff and get out.
Yeah.
So never felt like that there. Um, we were there one night, and Tessa kind of got a bad feeling and said, "We need to close this up, say the St. Michael's prayer, and get out of here."
Hmm.
Um, but the spirits there are very chatty. They're very happy that we are remembering them, because like I said, nobody's even acknowledged them in 185 years. And, finally
Wow.
somebody comes along and says, "Hey, you want to talk?" And they've got a lot to say. So, my other favorite places, Tinker Swiss Cottage
Hmm.
is probably tied with the Vets Hall in Rockford, Illinois. I love the Vets Hall. It's like a second ghost home, if you will. I've investigated it so many times, and if Scott Lewandowski, who runs the Vets Hall, called me and said, "Hey Dan, I want you to come up and investigate this weekend," you better believe I'd have my stuff packed and be there. Like I said, Tinker Swiss Cottage, beautiful. Rockford, Illinois history starts at Tinker Swiss Cottage. Uh, so probably those are my top three favorite places. Maple Cemetery, right in my own backyard, one of my favorites. Uh, one of my favorites because it's very convenient. We can actually walk, the sidewalk actually goes right into the cemetery, so we can be there. In the state of Illinois, and I'm not sure what it's like where you're at, Miranda, but if you're in a cemetery past dusk, you can be arrested for trespassing.
I
So you
think
want to
that
make darn
there's,
sure you're not breaking that threshold.
yeah.
And for me, being a corrections officer, it probably wouldn't look very good me getting arrested. I'm sure my sheriff would be going, "Okay, so why were you arrested?"
Exactly.
So I tend not to break the thresholds. So I think that's what makes the battleground my favorite, because it is in a park. There are no signs anywhere. You can be in there 24/7, and
Oh, really?
it's just an amazing place.
Now, see, because that's interesting to me because a lot of the Civil War battlefields and everything down here, and any of the battlefields for the most part, they close down after dark, and you've got to
Hmm.
get special permission. But then the cemeteries, I think that that's pretty much a universal law about dusk till dawn in the cemeteries. But we have so many mountain cemeteries and
Mm-hmm.
private type cemeteries here that, I mean, we have so many that have just fallen to the wayside. So being in the cemetery is not as big of a risk here as it is being in some of the battlefields.
Right. Yeah, and we got to investigate a house that was a church, and the graveyard to the house is actually part of the land. And
Hmm.
the house was amazing. It was an old limestone house, but I was drawn out more to the cemetery. I'm more of a cemetery guy. I mean, I do like doing buildings, and I loved Conover Square down in Oregon, Illinois. Like I said, the Vets Hall, Tinker Swiss, the Egyptian Theater in DeKalb, which is absolutely amazing. Uh, but I like to be outside, and I'm really a big cemetery guy. I would rather be sitting out in the cemetery than in a house any day.
What are your tools of choice? I know that sometimes investigating outside creates different challenges than kind of confined into an inside. So what are some of your tools of choice for those cemeteries?
Um, we shoot a lot of our night video with a Sony A. I think it's an AX33. Wonderful night shot. Shoots in 4K. It's just absolutely amazing. I know Canon has one that's a little better than that, but at the time that I acquired the Sony, that was one of the top of the line. Um, we do use an SB7 quite a bit,
Mhm.
although I just got some really cool dowsing rods that actually light up. And I'm
Oh, do you like
more,
those?
I absolutely do. And the thing is that, way back when they were actually called divining rods.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I grew up on a farm and just outside of town here. And when I was a kid, a guy came out with divining rods, and he found where we needed to drill a well for our cattle.
Mhm.
And he walked around, Miranda, and the dowsing rods crossed, and he said, "You drill that well right here and you're going to hit water." And by God, we drilled the well there and we have water. So there's got to be something to it. And we've gotten some great answers. I mean, of course, the SB7, you may get words or things like that. But, you know, if you ask the questions the right way, I don't know. I don't know how many people out there like the dowsing rods, but, you know, if you're holding them and they're crossing or they're going away, or you can get them to point various places, I haven't seen them be wrong yet. I mean, I always ask the questions that I've gotten an answer somewhere else from the ghost box or from research or whatever, and they've always been right on. So I'm really liking them.
Well, that's cool. I've not talked to anyone that's used the lighted ones before, and the dowsing rods are absolutely one of my favorite tools. Just because they are so easy and so accurate, and they're common for a lot of the spirits that we interact with. You know, they're very familiar with those tools, and so you know, if a friend of mine, Dr. Sumner, she had shared an article with me about someone who had used them for finding bodies and identifying bodies. And I've wanted to actually try that because, I mean, they've never steered me wrong.
I'm really enjoying them. That was probably the best purchase we've made.
And it's cheap and it doesn't have battery drain.
No. Well, the new ones that we just got, they light up, so they do, you know, but the batteries are pretty cheap. So I'm going to just keep going with them.
So are they like you charge them up, or how is...
No, they both got battery packs on them. And I think, I got to be honest, I haven't, you know, Larry's my tech guy, so he threw it all together. I think they're AAAs.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know. I've got 2 pairs, and on one of them, I've got like a little bit of glow in the dark nail polish on it. But I've been thinking about splurging and getting the electric ones, because because they are hard to see when you're filming. But I've started doing some different things where I blindfold while I'm doing my dowsing rod sessions, and different things to try to take any type of human influence out, just as far as testing goes. And of course, you don't always know in the moment what the answers are until you go and watch your videos. But it's pretty amazing when you're sitting there asking the questions, because you can feel when they're actually being pushed or not. You know?
Yeah. There's been times that the answers have been so strong you can feel it tingle up your arms.
Yes.
And it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I would recommend anyone. I saw a comment here where some people were talking about a lot of people use the rods, some people wanting to try them, and I would definitely suggest people using them, giving them a shot and trying them. And of course, it's one of those things, different tools work better for different people. I've never been able to really use a pendulum. For some reason, and maybe it's because I just don't sit and really try, have really experimented with it, because once I grabbed the rods, they just felt right. And my dad and grandma used them to find water back a long, long time ago. So it was just a natural fit. And I think anyone, if they sat down and tried, they would find, I guess, the divination tool that worked for them.
Right. So. Yeah, I'm sold on the dowsing rod. So I have a friend that her name's Teresa. She was very good with a pendulum. I didn't have the patience for it, Miranda. But the dowsing rods, I'm kind of like you. It was like a match made in heaven. So I really like it.
It's like a pendulum's almost like a tripod type thing that you can affix your pendulum to, just to see if I could get it to work at all without me holding it, because I just wanted to make sure, you know, that it wasn't me influencing it in any way. But for some reason, I just don't try it as much. as I would like to. So as far as, in your bio, we're talking about a lot of your friends call you a spiritual warrior. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. We have, and this is the bad side of all this, we have dealt with some pretty nasty attachments. Um, One that I had myself happened to bring home from, we knew right where I got it, a place called the Creepy Church. And this attachment took great pleasure in just terrifying my daughter. And Lexi, my daughter, which she's now 20 years old, she was only, I think, gosh, Sandy, help me here. She was probably 10 at the time. But this thing would stand in her doorway of her room and, shake her bed. And I was working nights at the time. So, I would get a call in the middle of the night, from my wife. I don't know what's here, but you got to do something about it. And as you guys know, it's very hard to fight what you can't see.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Catholic faith. I am not a practicing Catholic. I call myself a recovering Catholic. But everything that I do is based on the Catholic religion. Now, I will use white sage and different things. I will use rose quartz and stuff for protection. Um, but when I do a house cleansing, or I've actually cleansed 3 people, uh, I will use holy water. I will use, crosses, things like that. But the biggest thing that I want to say, Miranda, and I've said this a lot of times, to a lot of my followers, is that you can wear 1,000 crosses around your neck, but if you don't have faith in what that represents to you,
Mm-hmm.
all they are is just worthless crosses around your neck. You really have to dig deep, and you have to find that faith, and you have to have it. And when Sandy and I were talking about it the other night, I've come across a lot of people that are, agnostic or atheists or whatever, and I'm not one who tries to push religion down anybody's throat, because I am pretty straight to the point and can be foul mouthed and everything else, just like anybody else can. So I am definitely not holier than thou, but I do have a very close relationship with who put me here.
Mm-hmm.
And, this guy said, well, I just don't know how you can have such a strong faith and believe. And I just told him, I said, wouldn't you rather believe and find out something wasn't there than not believe and find out something was there?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
I don't know. He told me, he goes, well, that's a really profound statement. I said, well, think about it and let me know what you decide. I said, because, I would rather at least have faith, uh, you know, and find out nothing was there than, not have faith and find out something was there. And I can tell you, Miranda, the time that I spent on the ambulance, like I told you off camera, I was a paramedic
Mm-hmm.
for 6 years in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen enough. I've seen enough people that I would have bet you $1 million were gonna be fine die. Yeah, I mean, 2 minutes after I wheel them into the ER. And I've seen other people that I would have bet you $1 million weren't going to make it to the ER, walking around a month later. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so you know, there's divine intervention and there's miracles every day. You just got to keep your eyes open and look for them.
That's true. And a lot of them can be subtle.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And like I said, people ask me all the time, well, what kind of God would condemn a kid to childhood cancer, or what kind of God would take your wife or your husband, and I said, I just simply told him, I said, if everything was great all the time, we wouldn't have to have faith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to have so much bad to be thankful for what was and is good in your life. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the way it is.
So from what you've encountered, and you get a lot from or you hear a lot of things from a lot of different people. Do you believe that there are as many negative or demonic spirits out there in these locations as a lot of people say, or do you think we're quick to label something that may just be malevolent or negative demonic?
I definitely think that demons exist and are there.
Mhm.
I've talked to a couple of priests. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine who is a priest. Um, you know, Definitely, no doubt, there's demons out there. I just don't think that they're in the mainstream as much as people think they are, or some people want them to be. You know, Larry and I were just discussing it the other night, and a question that I had come to me, do you think there's more demons in cemeteries? And I said, what the heck would a demon want to have anything to do with a cemetery for? Because everybody there's already gone,
Yeah.
and they're, now a dark entity, or a grumpy spirit. Yeah, they might be hanging around the cemetery because you know maybe they're unhappy that their body's there.
Hmm.
um but as far as a demon, you know anything that I would associate with a demon, um a lot of things just don't fit the criteria. And I'm by no means a demonologist. I mean, out of the whole realm of demonology, I know about that much. But demons are inhuman spirits that don't have the same wants and needs that you and I have. They don't know. The other night on Sandy's show, somebody asked, "Do you think a demon can mimic a child?" I said, "I think it would be very hard to mimic something that you never have been." So, I just my opinion. I don't believe
Hmm.
that a demon's going to mimic a child. I think that demons, they have all the time in the world. They don't have to make their jump fast on you.
They play the
Um,
long game.
Absolutely, because they're in it for your soul. They want your soul for Satan. Malevolent spirits, they were once human. They have human wants and needs like you and I do. And how many times have you seen something and you say, I want that. I want that now. I'm not going to wait for that. And those are the kind of things that jump on you and attach to you and make your life a complete hell from the get go, you know. And can it be as bad as a demon? Yeah. I mean, I've been pulled over a fence, I've been punched, I've been scratched. Uh, you know, it's happened to a lot of us, and if it hasn't happened to you yet, chances are it will at some point.
Hmm.
And you gotta maintain your strength, whatever you draw it from, and
Hmm.
continue on. Because I'll tell you what, I got to be honest with you, Miranda. The night I was pulled over the fence and had the scratches up my arms, that was about the most unnerving thing I've ever dealt with. Because I'm not a little guy. I mean, you can see that. And I've been a corrections officer now for 15 years, and I don't get unnerved about a lot of stuff. But something that I can't see pulling me over a fence like I was a tinker toy, that was very unnerving.
Was that at the creepy church?
It was at the creepy church, yes.
What's the story behind the creepy church?
The creepy church, there is a working congregation at this church. It's not like it's an abandoned church. And then the graveyard that's attached to it is a very old graveyard. And we had seen a lot of shadow play out there when we had visited, and we had actually seen what appeared to be a disfigured nun in the window. Um,
Wow.
Kind of weird because it wasn't a Catholic church, and nuns are only going to be around a Catholic church most likely.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that's what it appeared to be when we shined the light, and whatever it was looking out the window at us. Um, but the congregation, at the time that a lot of that stuff was going on, they had a new pastor. that was brand new. She was a woman. She she was a gay woman, so a lot of the congregation was really upset about that. And the congregation and the whole church was in turmoil. So the groundwork was already laid for there to be a lot of
Yeah.
negative stuff going on there. And you know, and Miranda, I've watched your videos and I've seen things. You've been to some very old cemeteries and stuff. God only knows how a lot of those people could have died. And
Yeah.
if it was a really violent death, and all of a sudden this negativity is all over the place, hey,
Mhm.
why don't I go out and seek my revenge at these people who are calling my name into the middle of the night?
Yeah.
I mean, I know the probabilities of things may not exist, but everything, as well, has a good possibility if you don't shut your mind off to it.
Mhm.
So anyway, this thing followed me home, and it was hell trying to get it out of here. And thank God I had good friends besides just Russ and Sandy that helped me get it out of here, because it was I was in the basement alone, and I'm telling you what, I saw stuff floating around that I would never in a million years. I still think I'm crazy. I still think it was a hallucination or something, because there was things floating around and getting tossed around that basement and stuff, and it looked like a scene from The Exorcist. I swear to God, and it was very intense. And I was down there. I was doing the St. Michael's prayer and doing a closing prayer and everything else, and it was getting real intense to where I really felt like I need to get the hell out of here. And all of a sudden, somebody put their hand on my shoulder, and everything was better. And I found whatever strength I needed to finish what I had to do. And all at once, when I finished, everything stopped and to the floor. And I thought it was Larry, and I turned around and, hey, thanks, brother. And there was nobody there. So I don't know who put their arm on my shoulder or their hand on my shoulder. I don't know if it was Jesus. I don't know if it was my dead grandfather. I don't know who it was, but somebody, comforted me enough to continue with whatever it is that I had to do. And, thankfully, we got it gone. There was another night that Larry and I were doing a house cleansing, and um, not the stuff flying around the house or floating around or moving or anything, but just a real intense thickness in the air. And we finished. We did the house corner to corner, started at the top, ended at the bottom, shoved it out the door. And after that was all done, I said, "If you're gone, give us a sign." And Miranda, it felt like that whole house went up off of the foundation about 2 feet. And Larry's eyes were
Yeah.
like this big, and he goes, "What in the hell was that?" And I know when I look back at him, my eyes were that big, and I said, "I guess it left."
Sign of
And
departure.
those people have never had an issue again.
Wow. I mean, that case that I had, the Sunset Hill house, when I was able to video and record the cleansing that the demonologist did in that house.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people tell stories, but if you've never been there and experienced it, you really just don't understand that feeling when it's gone. I mean, it
Right.
really is like somebody just took a weight off your chest and shoulders, or just off the house itself. It feels like the
Absolutely.
house is lighter. And if I hadn't have experienced that myself, and it wasn't even my house, that
Right.
was dealing with that, or even it was a case of mine, but there wasn't any people living in that house, so it wasn't like
Right.
having to deal with people that dealt with it on a daily basis. But you could really feel that, so I can understand that feeling, that sign of departure that you speak of, because
Yeah.
I mean, if you've never experienced it, you just don't realize how
Right.
uplifting it is.
Well, and probably the worst thing that I ever had to deal with was I got a call This kid was about 15 years old, so my son's age now. Um, and they had been to doctors, they had been to psychiatrists. The psychiatrist in mental health today, they don't ever want to label somebody under 18 years old as schizophrenic because, that will follow them everywhere. And I get it, whatever. But the doctor told this lady, yeah, I think your son's schizophrenic. So she had somehow seen me, come across a blog or something. I don't know how she found me, but anyway, she said, I think that it's a ghost because they were doing a Ouija board session at an old house and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, if you've been to the doctors and everything, I said, I don't know if this is the avenue you want to go. But to humor her, I went over, I met with the kid. And when I saw this kid, Miranda, he was cardiac gray. I mean, this kid was 15 years old and looked like he had a heart problem. He looked terrible. And I talked to him and I shook his hand and I could feel just the negativity in his hand. I could feel it in the house around him. And I told his mom that I was going to put a couple voice recorders in his room without him knowing. So I listened to those voice recorders and yeah, he wasn't schizophrenic. He was being asked to come be with me. It was a male voice. I need you over here with me. I'm lonely here, blah, blah, blah. So the spirit was trying to talk him into killing himself. Basically, in a nutshell.
Gosh.
And it was basically, it was a human spirit. And what was he really going to do with his soul anyway? Because a human spirit can't do anything with your soul. But maybe get him to be wherever he was at. So through further research and, I enlisted Sandy's help along with a couple other people. We figured out that it was a child spirit that had died probably of cancer or something and was very lonely. And when they did this Ouija board, saw his way in, and this kid had, some difficulties, parents going through a divorce and stuff. So he was the perfect candidate for this thing to latch onto. And I blogged about it on my blog, and I think you can still see that blog on ghosthunterdannorvell.com. But it was 3 days of hell. Miranda, I went and met with a priest over this, and this thing tried to scare me off so hard. There was literally something on the roof of my car beating on the roof as I was going to the church. And I'm like, I don't care. Anytime I would try to call and talk to somebody about it, all I would get is static on the phone, and you'd hear shit, pardon my French, come over the phone. It was just amazing. And I'm telling you, if I wouldn't have lived it, I wouldn't believe it. I would sit here and tell you you're absolutely nuts and you're trying to tell me something. But I lived it, and it was there. And I talked to the priest. I was able to take the kid to the church, perform the cleansing there, because I told the priest. And the priest, I thought he was going to have me put in chains and drug out of there. Thankfully, he was very cool about it. He allowed me to do the cleansing on the kid in the church and one of the chapels that they used off to the side. And I did it, and immediately when it was done and over with, I had to bind the spirit, which I really struggled with, because I had to bind the spirit of a 13-year-old, 14-year-old kid. Wow. That wasn't a negative entity. He wasn't a malevolent spirit, but what he was doing was negative. And I tried, I told Sandy, I said, I pleaded with this kid, just leave in peace, and he wouldn't do it. So I had no choice but to bind him. But when I did it, Miranda, immediately that kid looked different. He had a different facial expression. The color was back in his face. And for the first time since I met him 2 weeks prior, he was smiling. Never saw the kid smile before that. So it was absolutely insane. And like I said, I did blog about it. It's a 4-part blog.
And you said that's on, I'm going to put
it's on my website, ghosthunterdannorvell.com. But I think it was called Touched by Darkness or something.
Okay, I'm going to put
Everybody
that.
said I should have put that into a story, but it was a true thing, so I didn't really want to.
And that's tough when you're dealing with children,
Yes.
and it's kind of, I don't know. So, and that's actually fascinating to me, especially the fact that you have a psychological diagnosis, and then you were able to go and actually get EVPs, and I guess maybe were there disembodied voices, or were they just off the EVPs that you were able to capture some of these?
Yeah, it was just off of the EVPs
Okay, I
that
didn't know
I
if you all were hearing them.
it would just and the kid told me, he said, there's something constantly whispering in my ear. And the thing is and I'm no psychologist. I only know about mental health what I learned as a paramedic and what I deal with as a corrections officer. But I do know in schizophrenia that the voices generally tell you really bad stuff.
Mhm.
If schizophrenics had voices that told them beautiful things all the time, everybody would want to be schizophrenic. So, usually the voices tell you how terrible you are, how worthless you are, tell you to do bad things to other people, tell you to do bad things to yourself. They never have anything good to say. And, you know, if he would have been schizophrenic, I definitely wouldn't have caught any EVPs. But he said it's constantly whispering to me that it's lonely and it wants me with him, not saying, hey, you're worthless or anything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what set me off to think, okay, well, maybe I do owe this family something, and I will, because I got to be honest, Miranda. I was about to say, look, your kid's crazy, and there's nothing I can do about that. You may want to
Mhm.
just accept the diagnosis and get him medicated, but something in the back of my head told me, no, this isn't what's going on. And when I walked into that house, I could feel it. I could just feel the darkness around him, and I knew. I mean, as a paramedic, I've been around schizophrenic people. I never felt that kind of darkness. So I something set me off, and I knew that it was my journey to take, and I had to take it, or you know, if I failed, then this kid might not be around.
Yeah. And so the parents were completely open, I guess, to whatever you
Yeah,
needed to do.
yep, yep. After it was all done, the boy's dad came up and shook my hand, and he says, "I don't believe it, but those you helped my kid." And the funny thing is the kid's now in his 20s. I just saw him about a week ago because he still lives, you know, fairly close, and he's doing fine. He's
Wow.
doing absolutely fine. So
Wow. Well, I definitely want to check out that blog. Is
I'll have to find it and share it onto Facebook so you guys can see it a lot easier. But yeah,
Yeah.
it should be there at ghosthunterdannorvell.com. And yeah, it's a 4-part blog that I did, and it's called Touched by Darkness.
Oh, very cool. Well, if you want to push any of your other pages that you have, any future projects, and then also your books, you have what, 6 books that you've written?
Yeah, I've written 6 books. The two latest are both released by Haunted Road Media, so I'll probably just talk about those real quick.
Sure. Sure.
Um, uh, Haunted Road Media, Mike Ricksecker was gracious enough to take a chance on an unknown author, and our books out are The Ghost of the Blackhawk War, um, and the other one is called Afterlife Anthology. Those Afterlife Anthology, I think it's like 320 pages long. Those are all fictional stories, very loosely based on things that Larry and I have experienced as investigators, but put into a story. And the interesting thing about that book is the ghost is telling you the story, or you're experiencing the story the way the ghost would experience it, not somebody dealing with the ghost. So it's a little bit of a twist on things. Probably my favorite story out of there is Forgotten Country, and The one, everybody who's read the story, they always say it makes them cry, is called The Best Day. Probably take you 3 minutes to read it, but there's a big twist at the end. You don't expect it, and all of a sudden there it is, and everybody's like, why did you do that? Well, because that's what authors do. So that one is totally fictional. Out of my head here. I did write a vampire book that was the first of 6. It did not go the way I wanted it to, so I'm probably going to actually revamp that into a graphic novel if I can get a good enough artist to draw what I'm writing. Speak of the devil when he shows up. There, Larry's sharing the links to our books right there in your chat, Miranda.
Very nice.
He's
and we'll put these
your chat. I would kick that guy out.
And we'll put
Thanks,
these
Larry.
on. We'll put these on the post as well. After we get off, we'll put this on YouTube as well as on the actual Facebook post.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the other places you can see us is if you Google Ghosthunter Dan Norvell, you'll see our website, you'll see our Facebook page, our Twitter, our Instagram. I'm pretty much everywhere that everyone else is, so you can find us anywhere, and drop us a message if you want to chat or if you want to know anything else at Ghosthunter Dan, and I will answer it for you at some point. I do tend to be kind of busy sometimes.
Well, and I definitely recommend that people go and check your pages out, because I love your live feeds that you do. I love you just I love your bluntness, and just you just come on and you tell it like it is. I really enjoy that, and I enjoy the places that you've highlighted on your Ghosthunter Dan Norvell page. So yeah, I definitely encourage people to go check out the links that we're going to put out there. And we actually had one question that
Sure.
I wanted to pull up. Janet asked, could she ask what religion the kid was that you helped?
I believe he was Catholic.
Okay.
Yes. Because, I know his dad was Catholic for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to make sure to pull her question up, because that's always such an interesting topic that people talk about as far as the helping people and maybe the darker side of the paranormal. But I also think that that's one of the sides that some people tend to grab and run with and make everything dark. So that's a very fascinating story to me, that from having that psychological diagnosis and then being able to go in and sort of prove otherwise. So Very cool. And I'm definitely going to check that out. Let's see, we got a couple more links here. And yes, he's got the Touched by Darkness blog on there. Again, like I said, we'll put those in the comments. And so what's next for you, Dan, other than your new series? Anything else kind of coming up?
I like I told you off air, Ghosthunter Dan is just something I do. It's not who I am. I also do a little project called Middle Age Maniac, and I like to bowfish and show that stuff. I like to collect knives and hatchets and axes, and we've done a lot of reviews and stuff on that. So we're probably going to work a little more on that. Larry and I actually own a production company together, so we're going to be doing some production projects, because COVID, we had like 6 projects lined up, and COVID pretty much shut them all down. So we're into the make it or break it year now. So hopefully we can bounce back.
Exactly.
That's kind of where we're at, other than Haunted Heartland, which with all the equipment that we have, it should look great, because we do have a production level camera, and it is absolutely astonishing.
Very cool. Well, we're looking forward to it, and looking forward to learning about some new places. So with all of that being said, like I said, I'm going to get with you and get a few more links and put those in there. But with all that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, Dan, for coming on tonight and sharing your stories with us. I know we could talk a lot longer because you've been doing it for so long and have so many interesting stories. I know we could talk a lot more, so we'll just have to have you back.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. And I'd like to thank everyone that's had questions and comments here during the live chat. A few notes of things coming up. I actually have Eric Freeman Sims from the Unseen Paranormal podcast. He's going to be on next Thursday night, and he's going to be sharing some stories from Middle Tennessee and East Tennessee. He's got a great podcast, and he is very history minded, and he's got some great stories to tell from the Tennessee region that you guys are going to want to tune in for. And also, a side note, this weekend was supposed to be the Screamfest Paranormal Festival, but due to all the severe weather that's coming into the area, the event coordinator decided to cancel the event. It's not completely canceled. It's just going to be rescheduled. So be on the lookout for a new date on that's coming up. And for all you folks here in the South that's experiencing this weather, stay safe. Thoughts and prayers are with you all, and just stay safe during this potentially severe time. And this show will also air on YouTube afterwards. We'll get that put on there. And then also it will be on Mix TV at mymix104.1.com. So again, thank you all so much. And also just want to say happy birthday to Peppy Purple Eyes. I know she's here in the chat and was going to stop by and see us to celebrate her birthday this weekend, but unfortunately the event was canceled. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next Thursday if we don't see you before. Take care.